Hello, yellow. I just woke up. Bare face, tomato face. But yeah, I have this theory about the South Node and how how children's personality it changes quite a lot from, especially from the first 7 9 years. Even after the first 7 years, the personality there's a drastic change a lot of times, and between the 7 to their teenage years there's another change. And I think that, okay, listen up. First of all, when we are living this life, having experiences, our ego self is developing, right? And the ego self would be the sun in astrology, and the sign the sun, or the I am, the ego self is in, is the archetype in which your ego self is filtered through. So it is one archetype of the whole. So you're experiencing your solar consciousness and the integration of the solar consciousness, which in its higher form is the Christ consciousness, right? But you're experiencing the I am through that archetype. So I'm an Aquarius sun, which means in Western astrology, so my ego self is being filtered through that, and then I'm having all those experiences, and my ego is being, my I am is developing itself. I don't know what this is. And all of that information, it gets stored in the moon. So the sun is constantly shining on the moon, and the light is information, and all of your experiences and your development and so forth, it gets stored. Your I am personality, as it develops, it gets stored in the moon. And it's that moon, the moon is many things, but it's through the moon that when we die and then when we incarnate again, we enter this reality. First of all, our soul, it travels with the lunar spaceship, okay, into this reality. Before we are pulled in, our souls are pulled in, and our bodies are created within our parents, right? But we travel first uh, into this reality through the space, the moon. And then we have, in astrology, there's the south and north node of the moon. In Vedic is Rahu and Ketu, the head of the dragon, the headless dragon, and the tail of the dragon, which be the south node. And here comes my theory. So when we are born again, okay, when we are babies, we don't have a strong sense of self, because the ego takes time to come down and to be integrated and to start developing. That's why we have the terrible twos when the child for the first time has a will of its own, and it's like, no, I don't want to wear those clothes. I don't want to do the thing today. I want to. They're constantly pushing. They're trying to bend the rules and the structures that you have set for them, because for the first time they have an I am, and the I am, the ego self, it comes online for the first time. And or there's the first self yeah, instance of self-awareness. It can come a little bit earlier, but usually that is when it really like becomes obvious to people that something has come online. As yeah. And the way the I am develops, the way you develop your sense of self, is through discrimination. So you're discriminate. I know people have such a bad connotation with the word discrimination, but what I mean is that when um, you start to differentiate, is that the word, distancing yourself from things that you start to, English today, So you start to discriminate. Maybe I shouldn't use that word, but you start to seeing, discriminating on what you like and you don't know. You start to I can't explain, but you get what I'm saying. I am not. You start pushing, bending the rules because you want to see, do I do this, or do I wear this because I want to do that, or I want to wear it? Do I agree with that? But okay, that is the process. Okay, it separates itself from other things. That's how the ego sees what the ego self sees. Okay, this is what I am. That is what I am not. That's why children at that between 2 and 3, they're testing the rules because they're experimenting. Do I really agree with this? Okay. So they start to have a little bit of, give you a little bit of pushback, give their parents a little bit of a hard time. And then all of a sudden, at the age of, I think, around 6 or 7, the first realization of mortality comes in. If they haven't had, yeah, anyways, and then you have the preteens and the teens, and those are all ages when our sense of self gets more and more integrated. We become more and more aware of self. Also at the age of 7, when 6, 7, when we start school, is when children really want to, when they draw, it's not about their own inner world or how they see it. It's more about how the physical world actually is, how it actually looks like. So they want to draw things accurately. It's really interesting to see children's drawings through the ages. So from the time that they can hold a pencil, and during different times they do. I don't remember what age, but they do like circles. I think it's, I don't know, let's say at the age of 3, all children, if you give them a paper, they will do circles and round rings, and then at the age of another age they do squares, or things like that. And it's it's super interesting. But when they start to draw, I don't know, they want to draw a horse before the age of 6 and 7, they would draw it as they see it, and it is a horse, even though when they show you, you're like, you're trying to, you want to guess it right because you don't want to disappoint them, and they're like, it's a horse. They understand that you don't see, but to them, it's a horse. Unless they be criticized, and yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But then at the age of 7, when the ego, the self-awareness comes even more, they want to draw things exactly as they are, how other people see them. So it's not about, and you become aware of death. And also you can see how the personality shifts there. Oh, before that, I also want to mention that, yeah, when you read, I don't know if you remember, but I remembered very clearly. I had one of my little brothers came to me one day around that 6, 7 year age, and it's that you have this experience that before that age, everything, it's in a fog and you don't have many memories. It's like you were in a dream. And that was exactly my youngest little brother. He was like telling me, he's much younger, we're 10 years apart, and I remember that when he came to me, I must have been 16 then. But he told me that he felt like he had been in a dream. Yeah, and now everything is sort of clear. And I told him of my own experience, that I remember that time when all of a sudden everything was concrete. I had concrete memories, but before that I just have flashes. And that is because from the age of 0 to 7, and because the ego isn't as we need to have a strong ego to exist there. There's a substitute. While the first years, while the regular ego, the sun, is coming online, and that archetype, that personality is coming online, you have the lunar spaceship, the lunar ego, and that the moon, and that is the. Do you remember how I said that all the information from in your previous incarnation, the sun, the ego, all of that development gets stored in the moon, and then you come into this world. So your personality, you're more instinct. It's more of an instinctual personality, and it's I call it the moon ego. And it's more of, so between the ages of 0 to 7, that is more prominent, and that is why your personality during that age is more an echo of a previous life. The personality, an echo of your personality of a previous life, because it's stored in the moon of your, yeah. And that is why the moon is so many things, but it's also related to the astro and to dreams and so forth. But that is why you're in this sort of foggy state, because you're more in this unconscious or subconscious state, because the moon and that ego experiences from another lifetime. So it's so funny because it takes time for us to like be here, for children to be here. And then, so I have this theory, which I also have like no evidence for in any sort of way, but the south node of the moon. In astrology, you have the north node of the moon and the south node of the moon, the south, the past. And I think that south node that you're birthed with, for example, in Western astrology, my south node is Cancer. It's a Cancerian, and that is relating more to my past life, the experiences and the personality and the archetypes that were playing out in my past life. In Vedic, I have Ardra as the south node, or the tail of the dragon, Ketu. Ardra, which is symbolized by, well, the symbol is a teardrop that has become a gem. I think it has many surfaces, and it has become a gem. So sorrow, so it's sort of wisdom through a lot of sorrow. So it has become like a crystal or a gem. That green one, what's the green gem? Yeah, I think it's that one, but it's also related to storms at seas. And I relate also to like sea monsters or sea creatures. And it's interesting because in my astral space is related to that. In the astral realm, you have an astral base, an astral space, and the south node is is the archetype of south node is actually aka the south node of the moon, and the moon is related to the astral. It will be in that archetype, and it's interesting because I've seen that the archetypes that are related to Arda in my astral, because I'm astral space, because I'm completely always been completely awake in my dreams, in my travels. I'm gonna do other videos about that and explain a bit more about the levels of dreaming or traveling. Because I used to think that everyone would dream like me, but nah. So I've been categorizing. But anyway, so the south node is related in Vedic astrology. It is related to both your health and it is governed by your male ancestors. And it's also the astral base. So apparently also your grandfathers, your father's father, one of their favorite places is also, for some reason, is an aspect of, you will see it in your astral space if you are awake there. If you remember things in your dream and you actually are aware of your astral, your little space in the astral, which is yours, which shouldn't be invaded. It's like your own little land. And the way it looks, it is related to that archetype, and it's synchronistically also related to your father's favorite place to be in this lifetime. And it's true. And even if you don't know your father's father or their favorite place, it will be, well, I can just say for me it was true, but also it also relates to the archetype of the south node, and it's true for me as well. And I didn't know about this when I first saw my astral space, become aware, and then I learned about it. I think it was Claire Nakti who was talking about this, and I've been thinking that I wanted to get more into it, but I haven't read about this anymore. But she mentioned this, that it's related both to the archetype of the south node and your father's, the symbols, and your father's, your grandfather's favorite place. And I was, oh my god, that's exactly that is it. So that's just a really cool thing. But I think that the south node is related, the south node of the moon is also related to that past incarnation that you've had, and it is, and is and it is the substitute a bit, that more unconscious, um, subconscious, like state of being that you are for your first years of life. And that's why you're more in this more instinctual aspect of children. But that is also, so then you have the south node of the moon, you have your moons. For example, I'm in let's just stick to my Western astrology. So my moon would be in Gemini. My south node of the moon is in Cancer. So so the echoes of the past has to do with the Cancerians or the Ardra archetype, and then my current moon, that is uh, uh, that is remembering everything that the sun is telling to it. The ego, the sun is shining lights, it's storing all that information. um what I wanted to say, I don't remember what I wanted to say with this. But anyway, that is in Gemini, and my north node is in Capricorn in Western astrology, which is where we're heading to. Okay, why do yeah, I don't remember. My conclusion, it disappeared. But anyway, my theory was just that thing of the south node being very prominent, the south node of the moon, when it comes to the first years of life. So the echo of the past life, it's yeah, and that is why children's also personality can be radically different in such a short amount of time. Um, you can see it especially from the first 5 years to when you enter school, how different the children's personality is. And then that personality is very different from when we hit puberty. Sometimes um, you're more in your, you go from being from your moon more to in your sun, and the sun and moon archetypes can be vastly different. If they're very different, it will be very obvious. But yeah, yeah. Okay, that was all for this rambling and babbling. um, yeah. Keeping your perfect self. I will do the same. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Subscribe.